sign up for merchandise. Yeah.
I can do it for a little bit.
Got 'em all.
They ought to have one there.
Yeah.
Can't pull me one.
The exhibitor back tags will be at the merchandise stand in the front of the
I
barn.
don't have two. Dallas, who's your showman? Hayden Lanier? Okay.
Shut the gate, baby. You gotta keep the gate shut, Jimmy.
Who's Chiefland Middle? That's five. So Jimmy, you're gonna need to stand it.
Here we go with first class of the 2024 Swine Show. Open the gate. Let's start with giving them a big hand. Chiefland Senior, Chiefland Senior FFA, Kaylee Keeling, Wilcox 4-H, Camille Cannon, Old Town Natives, Addison Hilty, Williston Middle, John Carson Osteen, Wilcox 4-H, and Aldwin Neesmith, Old Town Natives. If you're looking for Swanee River Fair shirts for this year or caps, they're on the far side of the arena. The merchandise table will be open for the next 2 hours, and they'll have the fair shirts from this year, some fair shirts from last year that are on sale. They're a discounted price, as well as all of the caps. They have ladies' caps that have the high ponytail hole, as well as the traditional men's caps, and some other merchandise there. They even have long sleeve shirts this year.
Well, a good way to start our Market Hog show here, and certainly if this is any indicator of the quality that we have, and then certainly seeing some of those that we had earlier in the day in showmanship, I certainly think Market Hog show here is going to be fantastic here this evening. A lot of differences out here, and certainly I guess one where you, as an evaluator, you kind of want to set your baseline and so on, and yet at the same time, I think we have a pair of them out here, or actually two distinct pairs, just in terms of frame score and in extension. We've got another pair that's plenty moderate, probably for lightweights, in my opinion, and yet at the same time offer a tremendous amount of product. So with that being said, I think the one that probably I'm the most comfortable with in using, just in terms of having added frame score, still having enough width and power and dimension. I'm not going to tell you that I wouldn't like to roll this one shoulder back just a nickel, but from a market hog and practicality standpoint, the young man's Calico Bear over there is going to be our class winner in this particular drive. One that just combines enough base width, enough muscle, enough shape, and enough extension to go ahead and win this particular drive. Second for me, and then quite honestly, it's kind of hard to split this pair up, but yet at the skeleton, that's going to be the young lady with the belted gilt there closest to me, the one that second, another one that rivals that class winner just in terms of frame score. I'd be the first to admit I'd like to clean her up in terms of her hocks and base her just ever so slightly wider, but still, that's the one that's big enough in her kind, especially for a lightweight, to go ahead and go to the rail, certainly, and have a value there from that standpoint. It gets closer here between 3 and both of these pigs get a little more vertically challenged, in my opinion. I'd like to stretch them and just put them on a little bigger chassis. And yeah, at the same time, I think the one just in terms of blade forward that has more look, has more balance from the side, that's the young man's belted hog right here. One that is tremendously opened up, and you like that about that belted hog. He too, I'd just like to extend him, put him in a little bigger package. Some thing can be said for the young man here with the blue gilt, and another one that you have to appreciate the width and power that one has. Young man has her maxed out in terms of back shape, hair and skin spot on. Appreciate those things about her. Just wants to struggle too much in terms of her front end right there. She's starting to labor, and she's wanting to tie up in terms of shoulder, and yet at the same time, we still need to make that one bigger in her kind to go ahead and run her on up the line. Young lady that comes out here in 5, and another big outline, one that kind of resembles what we have in 1 and 2 particular drive. Yet at the same time, she's also plainest and the most vanilla in terms of her shape. I guess they need to square that one from behind in terms of her hawk and pull her and just relax her there. Young lady that comes out next, another big outline, skeletal extended type of particular gilt right here. Another one just gets a little stealthier off of both ends of her skeleton. We've got to roll her back off of both ends and then re-angulate on a good class through. My congratulations to those kids.
And your class winner is John Carson Osteen with Wilcox 4-H. Second place, Addison Hilty, Williston Middle.
You need to be your pin.
Brody Fezenden, could you please come to the announcer stand? Brody Fezenden with Williston Middle, please come to the announcer stand.
Make an announcement if any.
Class 2, Division 1, coming into the arena, Addison Wood, Back Acres, Alexandria Cave, Soaring Eagles, Trinity Marie Schofield, Dixie Senior, Laylee Barber, Old Town Natives, Braylon Odom, Wakiva Run, Addison Allaire, Trenton Senior. Just a little housekeeping. If you're standing along the side of the rail, the people behind you cannot see. If you could please move back all the way so the people behind you can see. And if you need to stand in the front, just squat down.
Well, another good class to sort through here, and another one that logically comes to the top, I guess, more easily for me in this class, and that's the young lady close. Skeletal quality, I appreciate that about her, and yet at the same time, she's the one that's the freshest in terms of her body shape. She's big in terms of her the width and her dimension she has there at her 10th rib. Still just ideal in my awful good guilt there to go ahead and land in this particular. Second in this class, and then it gets a little closer, but the one that most closely rivals are just in terms of added shape and muscularity and dimension. The other white hog over here at this far side, and then at the same time, that's the one that does fall apart right at the top of her shoulder. She doesn't come out of the backside of her shoulder with quite as much power back into her loin. She wants to get a little more rigid in the way and upright in terms of her skeleton right there. Need to pull that one back in ever so slightly, but just from a muscularity standpoint, that's the one that has to land in too. If we could add muscle to this one right here that ends up in 3, another one that I absolutely love this barrel in terms of his silhouette from the side. gives you a good look, and from blade forward, he's extended. He's good in terms of his length of body. Mobility is good. He just gets a little more bland and a little more vanilla in terms of his shape up high. We just got to give him a little more dimension, just to certainly hit him with a little more muscle, stouten him in terms of his feature to go ahead and run him on up the line. Young lady that comes down here with a predominantly black one next, and another one that does get it too. Gets a little stealthier in terms of the way that she comes together up front in terms of her blade and knee, and certainly that column right there. We'd like to roll her back from that perspective. I'd like to relax her in terms of her spine there as well. But still, Marca Hug Supreme, just in terms of shape and then extra muscle. You like those things. Just need to relax that one in her spine to go ahead and run her on up the line. Young men comes out here in 5, and we can go ahead and drop 6 out there as well. Hogs that are very similar. Once again, hogs that just kind of run out of muscle here, just get a little plainer in terms of their shape to go ahead and run any higher in a really competitive class. But a good class through and through. My congratulations to all 6 of those exhibitors.
Class 2 Division 1, first place, Addison Lair, Trenton Senior, and second place, Trinity Marie Schofield, Dixie Senior. Now we have Class 3 Division 1 coming into the ring. Lauren Timmons, bid of both 4-H. Brody Fessenden, Williston Middle. Brian Gore, Trenton Senior. Ashton Stevens, Country Bumpkins 4-H. Sia Wilson, Chiefland Senior. Gracie Hurst, Trenton Middle. Jessamine Weatherford, Wakava Run. Chiefland Middle, shown by Samuel Lynn Cannon.
Another good class to sort through here. The logical place to land the young lady's chromed up barrel right here to my right. I think one that just covers so many bases just in terms of from a practicality and fundamental standpoint. I love this barrel in terms of his silhouette from the side. Blade forward, he's extended, he's tough-shouldered, good looking. And then from his comfort standpoint, another one that just checks so many boxes. He's the one that's the most comfortable in terms of his skeleton. You know, if I was going to nitpick on this one, we'd probably like to just give him just a nickel more shape up high and just true dimension of muscle, but yet at the same time, that one's so good in terms of his skeleton. He's certainly symmetrical in his lines, and like a lot of pieces about that particular hog. But that young lady's other kind of chromed up barrel here going across the center is going to be second. Another one that gives you a good look from the side, like that one in terms of his overall balance, just not quite as much in terms of his structure. No, one quite as comfortable in terms of the way that his rear legs assembled, like to lengthen him in terms of his hip to go ahead up the line just a nickel further. Young man over at the far side, and another one that you like a lot of pieces about. Here's another hog that's opened up in terms of the base of her chest. You like that about her. She is probably the more shapely one of that initial trio, and yet at the same time comes in more pieces, gets a little more, a little harder, and a little more rigid in terms of her hand. Doesn't balance up quite as well, but still a very, very good project for the young man. Kind of the outlier in terms of muscle comes here in full, and yet at the same time, she is the one that's the shortest in terms of her cannon. I'd like to elevate her up front right there. She wants to get a little rounder out of her hip and certainly like to pull her back in terms of her hop, certainly extend her a little bit up front, but it's still a nice skill in her own right to go out in 4. Young man coming out here in 5. Abel that comes next. Another one, just from a structural perspective, just got to fix this one in terms of rear leg usage and just go from that standpoint. Front 2/3 of that hog's pretty nice. Young lady comes out with a calico next. Another one that probably is, if we're judging these pigs in the pen in this particular class, I think one that goes right to the top, and yet at the same time, one that wants to roll out of his here with a couple barrels that just get a little more nondescript in terms of their muscle, certainly give them a little more shape, and we could run them on up. But a good class through and through, certainly a nice class winner there. My congratulations to those kids.
Coming in first in the class, Gracie Hurst, Trenton Middle. And second, Chiefland Middle, shown by Sammy Lane Cannon. Class 4, Division 1. Coming into the ring, White Newman, Dixie Sr., Natalie Wright, Dixie Sr., Evan Thomas, Chiefland Sr., Wade Hurst, Helping Hands 4-H, Kinsley Hare, Chiefland Sr., Baylor Gore, Trenton Middle, Keelani Wilson, Chiefland Sr., Madison Everett, Dixie Sr., Braylon Pate, Riverside Wranglers. This is Class 4, Division 1. Josie Lee Hughes, you need to be in your pen with your pig now, please. Josie Lee Hughes. And Talon Clark, you need to be in the pen with your pig now, please.
Well, a good class here, and I think we got a really good one and a lot to land on in this particular drive. And that's the young man with the off-belted barrel there at the far side, one that just kind of epitomizes look up front and then maybe the frame score that we're looking for in terms of his extension from blade forward, and yet at the same time, he comes back with a great big forearm, a big back, big hip, certainly one that's awfully nice and a logical place to go ahead and land on in this particular drive. Gets a little closer out here, and quite honestly, a little more give and take out here for second, third, and fourth, and yet at the same time, I think the one that most closely resembles our class winner, just in terms of freshness of back shape and just expression, that's the young lady in the middle of the trio right at the far side.
Yeah, they'll bring a board. Just stay back. They'll get a board.
She wants to wrinkle just a little more in terms of her loin, but yet at the same time, just in terms of sheer shape and muscularity, like the advantages that that particular female has, particular class once again. Third for me is going to be the young lady at the far side. Another one that a lot of pieces about, gets a little deeper in terms of her throat latch right there, not quite shape is what we have in our top pair, but still one that's structurally correct, and one that gets out here and can cover the arena surface with a little more authority, not quite as stout in terms of her feature as what we have in there as well. Fourth for me is young man right here, this other barrel, and another one that just kind of falls apart in terms of his top line. I like the added muscularity and shape, gets a little rounder in terms of his hip, gets a little more restricted right through his ham loin hook up there, and by having that extra roundness and extra muscle there, just doesn't want to plant and drive with quite as much authority, not quite as long in terms of his hip. I certainly like to clean him up in his flank there ever so slightly to move him on up the line. Round out our top five with young ladies kind of half-belted guilt there, and another one that I like a lot of pieces about, and yet at the same time, the pieces is probably where I would talk her ever so slightly, not quite good in terms of her ham loin hook up there as well. Like to square that one in terms of her knee as she comes right at you, just the way she goes to the surface, but still a nice skill in her own right, just like the elevator up front there as well. Big on down the line here, and certainly not to sound like a broken record, but we kind of get into something that just lack a little shape. We work our way on down the line to a pair of moderate and challenged in terms of the overall frame score that they have, but a very, very good class to work through with a really nice top end. Congratulations to all those exhibitors.
Mason Rodriguez, you need to be in the pen with your pig, please. Class 4 Division I first place, Wyatt Newman, Dixie Senior. In second place, Natalie Wright.
You got it? Or you want me to help you? Okay.
I think I got it.
This is your Division I drive. John Carson Osteen, Wilcox 4-H. Addison Allaire, Trenton Senior. Gracie Hurst, Trenton. Wyatt Newman, Dixie Senior.
Bring our four class winners back out here, and I think hogs that represent each other, and they're not cookie cutter by any means, but as we'll go through the day here, and certainly we bring a lot more probably depth in these classes, and yet at the same time, I think all four of these represent the same look from the side. I think they're still skeletally extended hogs, and yet still one just kind of overwhelms them just in terms of shape and added shape, the added muscularity, and still does it in a very skeletally correct package. Young man out of our last class with the off-belted bear there for your shaping in this division.
Congratulations to Wyatt Newman, Dixie Senior. And coming back into the ring, Natalie Wright, Dixie Senior. Well, we dropped that second place in, and that's certainly one that comes in here, fits in the mix, just in terms of quality, and I like that a lot of it, particular Gilt right there, like we talked her in class. She probably wants to roll up in her loin just ever so slightly better, and yet, ever so slightly, and yet at the same time, she comes in from a muscularity standpoint, fits right in the mix. I'd probably like to clean her in terms of her hops there ever so slightly. It gets a little closer, and quite honestly, I think we have a pair of them between her and this white gill here that have a little added shape, and then yet at the same time, we've got a pair of calico barrow and a chrome nut barrow over here. Both just get a little longer bodied and probably a little more just vanilla in terms of their shape. So that being said,
but still, from a marker hug perspective, still, in terms of an athletic build, young lady right here closest to me is going to have our reserve in this division.
Congratulations, Addison Allaire from Trenton Senior. If you're in classes 7, 8, 9, or 10, you should be in the pen with your pig, please. Coming into the ring, we have Class 7, Division 2. Lindsay Backley, Wilcox 4-H. Ashlyn Timmons, bid of both 4-H. Tylen Clark, Chiefland Middle. Abigail Whitehead, Dixie Senior. Taylor Thomas, Trenton Middle. And Josie Lee Hughes, Wilcox 4-H. This is Division 2, Class 7.
Another good Class to sort through here. The young ladies blue gilt's going to win this particular drive just in terms of that rig presence from the side, and I think that one gives you an awesome look just in terms of her skeleton, in terms of her head carriage, like those things about her, and yet at the same time you get up on top of her. I think this one's still got gas left in the tank right here. We can certainly put a little more room in this one, but still overwhelms this class just from a balance and feet and legs perspective. Still enough marker orientation to go ahead and rank right up in this particular drive. Second for me is going to be the young lady's belted barrow here, and another one that rivals that barrow in terms of height of shoulder. Like that about that particular animal. He comes right at you. He just gives up to and sacrifices too much in terms of his sternum width right there. You can translates back through his forearm and his forearm right there. Just need to bust that guy open to become more competitive. But he too paints that same silhouette from the side like a takes nothing away from the marker hog shape and meat animal shape that particular goat has. Like a lot of things about that one, just need to re-angulate that one to go ahead and push into that top pair just a little higher. Hogs on down the line here, 4, 5, and 6. There are hogs that do have some added muscle and shape. Appreciate that about them. Yet at the same time, respect. We just got to trim them up and then just make them go with a little more ease and comfort, get a little further out there in terms of their hock and hip placement, but good hogs in their own right, meat animal shape, and you like them from their marker hog characteristic, just got to change them structurally. But a good class through and through, a nice pair there at the top end. My congratulations.
Coming in first place, Taylor Thomas, Trenton Middle, and in second, Abigail Whitehead, Dixie Senior. Let's open the gate for Class 8 Division II. Dixie Middle FFA, shown by Chesley Garner, Abigail McGee, Chieflin Jr., Caroline Martin, Trenton Sr., Alex Norman, Trenton Sr., Wesson Jenkins, Dixie Explorers 4-H, Mason Rodriguez, Bell Sr., and Will Fuay, Middle. They have some goat shirts, some small animal t-shirts from this year. At the merchandise stand. We'd like to thank our Swine Show t-shirt sponsors, Chieflin Chiropractic, Lindsay Attorney at Law, Andrews Healthcare Consulting, Long Fencing, Bennett Heating and Air, Ellis Environmental and Utilities, Honesty AC and Mechanical Services, Stevenson Septic Tank Services, Land Development Solutions, Robinson Show Pigs, Swine on the Swanee, Jackpot Show, Jean, Darlene, and White Hickenbotham, Robbie and Tracy Lee, the Bizard Family, Becky, Kendall, Dylan, and Morgan, Aaron and Amanda Neesmith, Taste of Dixie Diner, Julie Herring, candidate for Dixie County Sheriff, Rafter Cross Cowboy Church, and Jody and Tracy Stevenson. Thank you to our t-shirt sponsors for the Swine Show. And if you sponsored this show, we have a bag up here for you. If you'll make your way this way, we'll pass it around.
Another good class here and a logical place for me to land on and win, and that's the young lady's belted hug here at the far side. And once again, not to sound like a broken record, but there's the one that paints the best picture from the side, that's the most structurally correct and still with the most authority in terms of the base of his chest. He leaves her with the right amount of base width. You know, I'm not going to tell you that this one's just a butterfly top by any means, but yet at the same time, one that just overwhelmed this particular in this class, in this particular setting. Second for me is going to be the off belt and bear there, and another one that gives you that same look. You know, I love this one, Skull, in terms of his jawline and his ear set for a marca hug. It just looks like a traditional marca hug, and yet at the same time, not quite as stout in terms of his feature. He wants to knuckle up just a nickel more in terms of his rear pastern, stouten that one up, and then just re-angulate him in terms of his rear pastern set. I think it can get more interesting there at the top end of this particular drive, but yet at the same time, still a very, very good marca hug in his own right. Third for me is going to be the young lady's calico bear. And here's another one that has some meat animal. From blade to knee, same can be said in terms of the column of bones that he has there, working from hip to hock and hock to ground. Just need to change him from that perspective. Same can be said about the bluegill here. Another one that I just like to re-angulate and then just reassemble there at the top of her shoulder to go ahead and make her a little better. But she too is the one that still has spread, has density of skeleton, like those things about her. Just need to change her up front there to go ahead and push her on up the line. Young lady coming out here in 5, and we can let 6 and 7 out there as well. The hugs that just get a little plainer in terms of their shape. Like a lot of things about them, but just get we just got to have a more muscle to push them on up the line. But a good class through and through. My congratulations to those kids.
Coming back, we'll have Caroline Martin with Trenton Senior and Mason Rodriguez with Bell Senior in your second place Class 8 Division 2. Coming into the ring, we have Class 9, Division 2, River Hires, Dixie Explorers, Mallory Graham, Riverside Wranglers, Ridge Hires, Dixie Middle, Anderson Cravat, Williston Jr., Avery Sash, Trenton Senior, Macy Robinson, Country Kids 4-H, and Kinsey Colley, Trenton Senior. This is Class 9, Division 2. I have a white Samsung telephone with little turtles on the background if you're missing it.
Without a doubt, the best class that we've seen all the way through here, and we've got quality, and unfortunately the young ladies that go in 6 and 7 in this particular drive, very, very good class. Those are high quality animals that would have been top pair of their class or top 3, but at least in previous classes, and yet at the same time, come out here. I think these are the hogs that probably just give you the best look from the side, especially our top 2. I think they're the most comfortable and genuine in terms of their skeleton. And then when you get up on top of them, I think that's where the real deciding factor is. Comes down between this pair here to my left. And right there, and one that I like in terms of her silhouette from the side. I'd be the first to admit, I'd like to just open her up. Base of her chest. I'd like to give her just a little more natural width as she comes right at you, but still very, very elite. That Chromduffia barrel there that goes into, and another one that is just a little plainer in terms of where he comes out of the backside of his shoulder, not as much shape, gets a little flatter in terms of his forerib and his upper rib in comparison to our class winner, but still a nice pair in his own right. Third place gilt right here, another one that I like a lot of pieces and probably does have an advantage in terms of shape over our second place barrel there, yet at the same time not quite as comfortable, and sometimes these collar patterns kind of throw them off in terms of how they want to utilize their hip, and yet at the same time, when you break them down just from a skeletal perspective, this is what I just like to crack her in terms of her skeleton and just mash her top down in there and level her out her hip, and therefore I think she would just go just a little better in terms of her rear leg usage, but still a good gilt in her own right. Young lady that comes out here next, and another one, we've got a couple of them here that come, just get a little more vertically challenged. I think just a little more moderate, absolutely packing a lot of thread meat. You appreciate that about them. just need to stretch that pair over a little bigger chassis to go ahead and move them on up. Gilt their pigs on down the line here in 6 and 7. Still big extended gilt there. Barrel that comes out there next in terms of the white one just gets a little rawer in terms of the cover that he has over his blade, but still a very high quality Marca hog. Same can be said for the vertical challenge barrel there that goes out next. Another one that's very high quality. Very, very good class. Congratulations to all those kids.
Congratulations to Macy Robinson. Hello. Can you hear it? Macy Robinson coming in first place, country 4-H.
And Avery Sass, Trenton Senior. Class 10, Division 2, Grace Pitts, Riverside Wranglers, and DeWeese, Back Acres, Luke King, Dixie Middle, Inman Wood. Class